Adam, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Thank you for
Good,
being
good.
here.
So
Where are you
yeah, it's an
calling in
honor to
from
be here.
today?
Thank you. I'm from Kentucky.
Okay, you're from there and you're calling in from there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. What part of Kentucky?
I live in a small town called Olive Hill. It's pretty close to the border of West Virginia. I've got about 1,400 people in my town, and I love it.
Oh, amazing. My grandmother's from West Virginia. Used to
Very
spend some
nice.
time out there. Yeah. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey before we jump into the questions here a bit about how you became involved, where you started. You came from Kentucky, where you went, and how'd you end up where you are now?
Yeah, so I was in the Army from 2017 to 2022. I went to basic and advanced individual training in Forest Hill, Oklahoma. My MOS was 14 Hotel, which, ready for this, it's a mouthful. Enhanced Early Warning Systems Operator and Maintainer. For the Patriot systems, we worked with surface to air missiles. Um, I spent my last 2 years in the service in Korea, and I ETS from Korea and came back home. And yeah, that's how I came back to Kentucky, and that's kind of my journey with the military. I was in the Army, loved the Army. I recommend everybody going to the Army. Forget about the Air Force and the Navy. Go to the Army.
The internal rivalry is a bit real, isn't it?
That's right.
So, what led you to work with NaVOBA and your journey from military services to business operations and consulting? How did that happen?
Yeah, so my degree is business administration. So actually, as soon as I got out of the military, I began doing contracting work for Drug Enforcement Administration and their business sector in Kentucky, which was great. I had a good time doing it, but at the time that I was there, the government was going through their furloughs and there was talks of the shutdown. Well, contractors would be the first ones to go, so I decided I need to start looking for something else. Somehow I found NaVOBA on ZipRecruiter, I believe it was, or it could have been LinkedIn. And I was interviewing for it and I was like, hold up, wait a second. So you're telling me that I could utilize my degree and help my fellow veteran community? Count me in. I'll do it for free. So yeah, I started working there and I've been here for a little over a year and I love it.
I love that. And then they were like, you don't have to work for free. You're going to get
Right.
paid.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what are the benefits of becoming a certified veteran or a disabled veterans business enterprise?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to preface this a little bit by kind of explaining how we fit in with other organizations. So there are five main categories of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is recognized in corporate America's DEI initiatives. There's women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, disabled-owned businesses, LGBT-owned businesses, and thankfully, the vast majority of the Fortune 1000 agree that veterans belong in that category.
Mm,
So all of these diverse demographics need to be certified by a nonprofit third party entity. The reason that is because when these corporations are reporting their amount of spend, their contractual spend with each diverse demographic, they can only count that spend if it's verified that they are indeed a woman owned business, minority, LGBT, disabled, or veteran owned business.
mm.
How do we verify that? They get certified. They have a nonprofit like NaVOBA, which for those that are listening, NaVOBA is actually an acronym. It stands for the National Veteran Owned Business Association. Um, so you get certified by NaVOBA, and if and when one of our certified VBEs or SDVBEs begins doing contracting work with corporate America that has DEI initiatives, they can then report that spend to their shareholders like, hey, check it out. We did X amount of dollars with veteran businesses last year. So some of the benefits is just that. It helps you kind of market your company to where you can start contracting with corporations for some of their opportunities that are not set asides, but are more geared towards diverse demographics.
Mm,
Uh,
yeah.
there's there's a plethora of other benefits that I could get into once somebody gets certified within our organization. For instance, I run an operate what I call Operation Matchmaker, and it's a virtual matchmaking event to where help connect our veterans with corporate America. And one that I really like to talk about is fire department coffee. Fire
Hmm.
Department Coffee, many of you may have heard of them before. They're a certified veteran business enterprise, and they are in, I believe, over 800 or 900 Walmarts. Um, but yeah, that's a few of our benefits that we have, and I can go into further detail if you'd like me to.
Yeah, I love that. No, those are great to hear, and I'm going to encourage this already early on in the conversation that folks should reach out to you so they can learn more about that. What's the best way to connect with you and learn more about what's possible?
LinkedIn, get on my LinkedIn. It's Adam-C-McCarty. You can email me any way that they seem or deem appropriate. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation.
Love that. So, what's the differences between NaVOBA certifications and something like the SBA certification?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really just a matter of public and private sector. So the SBA does the certifying to compete in what is called government set asides. And in 2003, I believe there was a law passed that says all of the federal government contracting opportunities, at least 3% of them have to go to veteran businesses. So in order to compete for those set asides for the SBA or the VA or even DEA or whatever a federal agency um, has available, you have to be certified to compete for those 3% government set asides. Now, our certification is geared towards the private sector. Many of the Fortune 1000, as I mentioned earlier, recognizes our certification. And that's essentially what the difference is. You have SBA for public sector and you have NaVOBA for private sector.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Are there common misconceptions about certifications, and how do those specifically impact veterans looking to work with larger corporations?
Yes, there are misconceptions because, and that's a challenge that NaVOBA faces is educating our veteran businesses that, hey, just because you're certified with the SBA, that does not mean that Anheuser-Busch or Walmart it can accept that certification and vice versa. There's many veterans that have our certification that think they can compete in the federal space for the set-asides. Um, but yeah, that's a huge challenge that we face that we're trying to work. We're actually working with the SBA. Beginning to work with them to differentiate that and try to educate a little bit further.
Mm. Well, a lot of this is new to me. Can you walk me through what the certification process looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step is going to navoba.org/certification. That's how you initiate the certification process. However, a veteran must own at least 51% of their business, operate the business and control the business. 51% is the magic number. Now that could be one veteran that owns, operates, and controls at least 51%, or it could be 51 veterans that own 1% of it. And as a collective, they
Huh.
own, operate, and control 51% as a collective. That's the first step. So I will kind of forewarn everybody that this process is very stringent. It's I don't want to say it's very stringent. Let me back up. It's we look at your finances, we look at ownership records, we pull your DD 214 from the National Archives, and that's to ensure that a veteran actually does own, operate, and control the business. Because if we get to a point when we're looking at this stuff and we realize that the veteran that's on the DD 214 isn't actually the highest paid person in the company, that's indicative that they don't operate and control their business. Once you go through that, it's pretty self-explanatory. Our application is. There's a lot of paperwork that you'll have to submit. Um, but that's how you get started is navoba.org/certification. And I would also like to let everyone listening know that not every business should be certified. And I'll use one of my very good friends as an example. He's a veteran and he's a business owner and he's a barber. he can't provide any value to corporate America. If your company can provide value to corporate America, we highly encourage you to come to us. We'll get you certified. And I'd like to also announce our very good friends at Lowe's Corporation, Walmart, and Wells Fargo. They are huge supporters of veterans. They've been very generous to us and have given us a grant that we are only allowed to use that grant for to pay for your certification fee.
That's awesome. Awesome. I think it's great to hear that when you said it's a very detailed process to get certified. And I think that speaks to the value of the certification, right? Because you don't want it to be just given to anyone or misused.
Correct. Correct. And sometimes we have experienced issues where it's misused, and there is something that we call rent a vet, to where some companies will transfer 51% of that into the vet's name, but they don't have anything to do with the business. And that's only so they can get certified to start competing for either public set asides or so they can start getting in the pipeline for corporate America. And we do not want that to happen, because there are so many people out there and so many organizations that do take advantage of our veterans. And under no circumstance, NaVOBA will ever fall into that category.
Yeah, yeah, good. So, what advice do you give veterans on building relationships with corporate allies and partner organizations?
Be yourself, be authentic, and probably the best piece of advice that I could give you as a veteran business owner that starts talking to corporate America: don't try to be a jack of all trades. So if a corporate says, hey, well, actually, we need this, and this, don't try to oversell yourself and say, well, I can do it all, because I promise you, they hear that and they see that all the time. So be authentic, be yourself, and don't be a jack of all trades.
Yeah, and when you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, and how do you suggest folks get really clear on what it is that they are best at and excelling at and focusing at and presenting themselves at? Because I imagine being coming out of the transition, you have been a jack of all trades in service at times when you're going to just do what needs to get done to make it a success. So, is
Yeah.
there any tips that you would give to folks to help them do that work to focus in on what is their lane to focus on?
Yeah, I think networking really really contributes to that, because when you're networking and you're talking to people, you can kind of see who's professionals over here and who's kind of not a professional over here, and where you fit in with your profession. Also, further education. Um, get as much education as you possibly can. Utilize some of our partner organizations like Veterans Institute for Procurement. Uh, Commonly referred to as VIP. And for all of the new veterans out there, like, you thought when you left the military you were getting away from acronyms. Sorry to tell you, you are not getting away from acronyms. There's also a very good partner organization that we work closely with, and it's called the Institute for Veterans, Military, and Families. That's an organization through Syracuse University. They have all kinds of great programs for furthering your education. They have all kinds of good programs for business startups, how to grow your business, how to write contracts, how to get your project management professional certificate. And they actually provide that certificate for free. And all of their programs are 100% free for veterans, military, and spouses. So look into Institute for Veterans, Military, and Families through IVMF is what it's called. It's through Syracuse University. Please look into that. I think that you guys will find massive benefit with it.
Yeah, that's an awesome resource. What was it for you when so you had this recruiter reached out to you originally for this role? Is that right? Or did you seek it out?
I seeked it out, and
You did.
one of NaVOBA's core values is radical transparency. So out of radical transparency, I'll kind of share this story with you. I thought the government was going to shut down. I thought I was going to be furloughed, so I started blasting out my resume. I thought that I was interviewing for a completely different company. Come to find out, the company that I thought I was interviewing for was a recruiting company for NaVOBA. And
Mm.
I come into the interview thinking that I'm interviewing for a position with an HR organization. And he starts talking to me about NaVOBA, and I had to stop him and be like, wait, what is NaVOBA? And he then explained it to me. So, you know, it was dumb luck, is really what it was dumb luck. And I found an organization that I couldn't be more proud of.
Wow. And they probably love that because you were living one of the values in that moment. You were being honest. You didn't pretend that you didn't, that you knew.
Yeah,
You just were like, wait, what's going on?
exactly. That's literally exactly what happened.
Oh, I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. I love radical transparency. We need more of that.
Yes, absolutely. We sure do.
Yeah. How do you see the landscape for veterans and veteran-owned businesses evolving, and what role do you hope that NaVOBA will play in this evolution?
Yeah, so something that's not being talked about enough when I attend these conferences, out of the five socioeconomically disenfranchised demographics that I mentioned earlier that make up the DEI demographics, the veteran community is the only one that is in decline. In some ways, that's good. In some ways, it's bad. It's good because it means that we don't have as many people needed to join the military. We would like to strengthen our recruiting numbers. And it means that we don't have as many people dying in wars, right? So it's bad because it is hurting our recruiting numbers. But we would like to see more growth in the community. I was reading SBA today, and some of their recent data indicates that veterans own over 1.6 million firms in the US and employ over 3.3 million workers. And in 2023, veterans accounted for 8% of new business startups, reflecting a rising trend in veteran entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
So, NaVOBA, we would love to play a pivotal role in supporting and advancing this. Um, as an independent nonprofit, NaVOBA offers a nationally recognized certification, like we talked about, and we would love to see more veterans get certified. We want to grow our community. We have just over 750 now, with about 120 corporations that have initiatives to include veterans in their diverse spend. Um, we want to facilitate those connections. We want to provide meaningful connections that is going to help the veteran community grow and prosper.
Mm. And as we look ahead, what advice do you have for veterans just starting their entrepreneurial journeys?
Find what you love, find your niche, because when you're doing when you work for somewhere like I do and you enjoy working, it's not actually work. And sometimes you might have to actually force yourself to stop working if you love what you do. As I mentioned earlier, be yourself and seek out opportunities that is going to help you find more connections, network with people, expand your knowledge and your skills like IDMF and VIP. Um, but the most important thing is to be yourself.
Mm, I love that. And if you could go back in time before you started your journey, is there anything else you would add as a piece of advice to yourself? Things you've learned along the way?
Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to be judged, because although there are people out there that will judge you, there's not nearly as many people judging you as they're not judging you, if that makes sense. Um,
Mhm.
and I can't overstate, be yourself.
Mm.
People can sniff it out when you are not being authentic, and they may not make you aware of it that they are catching on to your facade, but in the back of their mind they are, and that sticks with people. Build your brand. It's all a part of building your own brand. Every action, every word that you say is a part of building that brand. So be diligent, be mindful, and be attentive, and have intent for everything that you do.
Perfect advice. I feel like I want that like as a poster above my computer.
Well, thank you. I
Adam,
appreciate it.
what's the best way to keep the conversation going with you if folks want to reach out? LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Go to NaVOBA.org and subscribe to our newsletter. Shoot me an email. I'd be happy to respond to it and keep the conversation going. I work from home. A lot of us work from home. Zoom is like, the Zoom Zoom today is like calling after 7 p.m. for AT&T in the 90s. Everybody's doing it.
I love that reference. That is, if you know, you know. If you lived
If you
through it, you sure did.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were like, we are just trying to eat dinner. What are you doing?
Right.
Adam, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for making the time today. I really appreciate all the insight you gave, the radical transparency. Thank you for that. And thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you for your support, and it's been an honor. I appreciate you having me on here. And again, for those watching, reach out. If you're a business owner and you want some more information, I am the manager of veteran relations, the primary point of contact for our veteran businesses. So please reach out, and I'd be happy to speak with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too, Hunter. Thank you.
All right. Take care now.
Bye.